Guest was by John Lennon's side during one of the most creatively explosive and perhaps even most misunderstood periods of his life. And now May Pang is sharing her personal photos, untold stories, and truth behind the famed period known as the Lost Weekend, all to soon be displayed in an upcoming exhibition at Low Mill. And we here at TVL are getting an up-close preview. May, this is the biggest honor. Thank you so much. I feel like I'm truly sitting across from a legend this morning.
Well,
I want to start. Thank you. No, do not thank us at all. This is the biggest honor for us. But thank you again so much for being here. Obviously, we got to start at the beginning, right? Again, you knew John very personally. Is it true? I got to ask. We got to start with a big question. Is it true Yoko Ono asked you to date him? How did that relationship go about?
Yeah, she did, and believe me, it was just as much of a shock because I've been with them for several years at that point, and she comes into my office and one morning, and I'm thinking, did she just ask me something and I haven't had my first cup of coffee? Where am I going here? And I told her, I said, you know, I'm not interested, I'm not one. She goes, oh, I know, but I think you'll be a good person for him to, because he's going to start dating, and I think you should be one. I said, no. So this is how it started.
Sure.
And that she didn't expect, and I know I found this out as time went on, she didn't expect it to go on.
Yeah,
and
but it did. 18 months, very personally, again, real stress. That period, as we've mentioned, often referred to as the Lost Weekend. What's your take on that title? How do you kind of describe that season of your life?
It wasn't meant about me and him. It was really because people would say, oh, you were hanging out, you were drunk, hanging out with your friends. He was not an alcoholic. That's another myth. He wasn't. He was more hanging out with his friends.
Yeah.
So you didn't hear the stuff happening in New York. You heard it only like when we were in LA, because you had Harry Nilsson, you had Ringo, and Keith Moon. Everybody wanted to go out drinking, and I'm like, oh my God. And you know, and Harry was the biggest leader in doing that stuff, and you couldn't stop him. And even John finally said, I can't deal with this. And that's why we kept coming back to, we were always back in New York, but people didn't know that.
And I'm curious with that too. I mean, as you mentioned, the media can change so many different things, but you knew John, again, so well, so personally. What was the John Lennon like that you knew personally compared to the John Lennon that was known around the world?
I think, you know, when you see the photographs, you see a different side of John. This is the side I used to see. So it's not the you know, the one that's out in the public eye where he's you know, he knew what to say and he could be cocky about his stuff, you know, and but he was really very he was intelligent. He had a lot to say. He was always inquisitive about things. He wanted to know about life and what was going on in the world. He didn't want to just sit home. He was a person that loved to know. He was a knowledge. He wanted knowledge.
He was brilliant. He was brilliant. I mean, his level of creativity unmatched, right?
But you didn't want to cross him. If you really did, he was great. His tongue was sharp.
Sure, absolutely. So, and with that too, I did want to ask you. I understand you even played a big part in even reuniting him with his own son, Julian.
Yeah.
What kind of made you want to step in that area?
Because I knew what it was like not to have the other parent love you, or that he was missing. I was one, you know, first born in America, and Chinese, and I wasn't a boy. That's the big thing. I was not a boy, and then when we didn't have a son, as it were, in the family, my father also then said the next person would be the one who was born from home, meaning the homeland. So I was out on both counts.
Yeah.
So it really was tough, and I think that, you know, that made a big difference. And I saw something, and I knew that Julian needed his father, and I knew that John needed to look at his son, and he did, and he was very thankful in the end.
Yeah,
that
I can only imagine. Well, again, May, huge congratulations to you for all that you've done in your life. We know, again, so much of it now depicted through photos, as you've mentioned. Walk me through a little bit of this exhibit. You've got a documentary out as well. Just tell me as briefly as you can, again, just your life in picture. This is wonderful.
Well, I hope that people come out to see, out here in Huntsville. I think I always try to suggest, go see my movie, because it explains our relationship, it explains the time frame, and you see a lot of these photos in the movie, and it's called, obviously, The Lost Weekend, A Love Story. And in it, these photos depict a time of just me and John at our home life. These pictures were not meant to be hanging in a gallery, but of course, years later, a friend of mine, Scott Siegelbaum, who chased me for 6 years and said, I think people would be interested in seeing these photos. And I said, I don't think so.
No, they love you, they love John, they're personal, right?
Right.
And people love
they had no idea,
look.
So I said, all right. And we did it around the time that we were doing the first you know, when my movie was just about to be released streaming wise and all that, and people just, they stand there and they can't believe that this is a side of John that no one's ever seen.
And some of these pictures too, again, really, really powerful. You've got the photo of him actually signing when the Beatles was being disbanded.
Right.
What do you remember again from some of these moments? You were actually even a part of a big concert that was going to be John and Paul McCartney's last performance together. Stevie Wonder was there. I mean, you've witnessed history.
I have witnessed a few things all around. I've been fortunate, and you know, it just fell into that point, and I was never one to say, hey, I got to be part of this. And in fact, John had to coax me to come take the photos when he was signing the dissolution. But people don't understand the dissolution was something they all agreed upon, and it wasn't like, oh, you know, that it was just a hard. They spent years, and it didn't stop them from being friends. It didn't stop them from, if they wanted to work together, which John asked me, he goes, do you think I should write with Paul again? And I said, of course you should. And this is after they had officially broken them. Yes, they left, but people forget that they had to sign. They had a lot of assets and stuff. They need to officially sign to break it up.
Yeah, well, Meg, and we know that you played such a powerful role in his life. You're a wonderful person. Again, even just in these few moments of conversation, it's been an absolute blessing. We do want to stress, though, again, so much more to come from you. I wish we could chat longer because I'm like, you just have a lifetime of stories. But again, these pictures are going to be on display. We'll stress they're going to be at Low Mill. You're going to be there in person.
In person the whole time. People can purchase these photographs, these limited prints. I will sign it in front of them.
Wow.
I can tell them more stories. I have a story for every photograph that's out there.
I love it. Every photo certainly tells a story.
Yeah.
May, thank you for sharing part of yours on the air this morning. Again, the biggest honor, and wish you all the best. We know this is not the end for you.
Thank you for having me.
So much more to come. Thank you, my friend. Thanks.